Well, the day didn't start off that bad. It did rain quite a bit. And then once I got off there, it stopped raining. But you can see in the distance every once in a while, you can see thunder, lightning, or at least lightning up this way. You just kind of look that way. Well, I've noticed it. There it goes. There goes the lightning. That's the one thing about filmmaking is if you rely on the weather, it's going to be a tough one. The weather's a tough one. You can't control it. You can't control when the lightning strikes. You can try, or you can pray, but you certainly can't control it. Nobody can. It's very difficult. Same thing with the wind and the rain and the snow. All kinds of things. Natural disasters like earthquakes and tornadoes. If you live in Florida, hurricanes. I guess California's wildfires and earthquakes occasionally. I haven't heard a lot of earthquakes coming out of California lately, but we used to hear about them. Texas is mostly times rain. It is an extreme weather state, but it's tornadoes every once in a while. The rain, cold weather. It gets very cold in the wintry time. And very hot at times, especially this summer. It's very hot. We got some rain. We had to run to the car. I didn't get to film that. I had to put my stuff in a plastic bag. Put my phone in a plastic bag and stick it in my pocket and run. I don't really reveal a lot of where I'm actually at now. I've learned my lesson. Oh, look. So I don't show it a whole lot, but I did show us getting in the car and we were covered in rain. Lots of rain. It was spilling all over the place this early afternoon. And I told Linda, she was in the shower for too long. I said, eventually we got to go because she was changing her time at work today. And it was about, I don't know, we could have gone about 5 minutes earlier, but all of a sudden you could just hear it hitting the top part of the roof. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, that's a lot of rain. Oh, why am I talking in this accent? Because I get bored talking in the Texas accent all the time. I get bored. I have done it all my life. I don't know. There's some kind of accent come out right there. And I've been listening to the Jane Campion interview on Awards Chatter. Really good one. So far, the best one I've listened to. Really incredible filmmaker. Jane Campion. I'm a big Jane Campion fan. I used to think there was a separate writer known as Jane Champion. I must have read it wrong in college. I thought Jane Champion wrote the piano, but it was actually Jane Campion. Same person. So for many years, I thought there was a separate person named Jane Champion that worked with her. I really thought this. And she was the filmmaker, and then there was the writer. It's the same person. Anyway, she's from New Zealand, so sometimes I do a New Zealand accent. Or I try to, at least. I don't know. It sounded Australian there for a minute, and then it went back to non-regional, maybe. No, I just started throwing around accents every once in a while because I get bored, like I said. At downtown Fort Worth. It's kind of hard to go from there to non-regional and then right into your Texas accent, which that one's very noticeable if you do a Texas accent, because it's got all kinds of diphthongs and all kinds of weird stuff. Texas accent's weird. It's got a little bit of German in there, mixed in there, probably a little bit of French, maybe some Spanish, probably a little bit of English too. It's funny because if you look at my old video when I was real young, I was a real young kid, I talk like this. I talk like real thick accent, real hickish, as they say down south. I talk. I just say I talk. It was a normal way of talking. I had to learn to talk normal. You know, they wanted me to go non-regional. That's what they called it, so I could access more stuff. So if I want to throw in all of a sudden golden New York accent, you know, hey, we're gonna park the car and talk about daughters and get some dogs, hot dogs, or we're gonna walk a dog with our daughter and park the car at the park. Or maybe that's Boston, I don't know. Anyway, ooh, there's more of it right there. A lot of it. Anyway, it's a really good interview. I recommend it. If you ever seen The Piano, it's a really great film. And what's great about The Piano is that it's not really an action film. It's not a fantasy film, really, it's more realism. But there is some magical realism in there in a way because of the imagery. The imagery alone, and the music, makes it kind of magical, even though it's meant to be a realistic story, a narrative about this woman from Ireland, I believe. Holly Hunter plays her, but she comes to New Zealand to, she's kind of a mail-order bride. I'm gonna go this way this time. I hope this is the right way too. She's kind of a mail-order bride, but it's a very interesting story. The longer time goes by, I'm gonna have to buy the screenplay because the way the little girl tells the story, which is Anna Paquin, she tells it different than what the true story is, if I'm not mistaken. So the little girl kind of makes up lies, but you believe them because, you know, you need a narrator in the story. You need someone to kind of tell you what's going on because not a lot is said, especially from Holly Hunter's character, who is kind of the protagonist. So you're desperate for information. That's what makes it great, and the music alone is amazing. It carries it through. It's one of those great films, kind of like Taxi Driver, that from the beginning to the end, it carries you through from point A to point B. The Piano does the same. So once it starts, you don't lose interest, and that's what makes it a great film. That's what I think a great film is. Once it begins, you don't lose interest until, you know, you don't ever lose interest in it, or it becomes a bad film. And both of these films are genius films. I talk about Hitchcock had that kind of power too, I think, in filmmaking, where he could hold you, especially like in a film called like Psycho, another great film that holds you from the very beginning to the end. You have to know what's going on, and that's what makes these great films. But anyway, The Piano, of course, one of my favorite films, one of the few digital films I own. When I first started buying films digitally, The Piano, I think, was one of the first that I bought. And I took a big break from buying digital films because I also like to have the hard copy, which I don't have the hard copy of The Piano. I only have it digitally. I can watch it whenever I want, you know, but I have to access it digitally, you know, which is a different type of process. I'd rather have the hard copy myself. I don't own a hard copy of it. I own it digitally through a platform like YouTube or Vudu or Fandango. But you know, going back, like the imagery I said kind of makes it magical because you see a piano on the beach, which is not something that a person would see, but maybe in a dream, you know, and that alone probably sold the film. But it's a great film. It's great listening to Jane Campion talk about it. Even today, she says it holds a fresh view. Like it's fresh even today because it's told from a woman's point of view, which is another magical thing. We don't have a lot of women filmmakers other than maybe Catherine Bigelow and Jane Campion. There's a few others, but they're not real popular even today. Don't know why. She in her interview, which I thought was probably the best interview I've seen on or I've heard on Awards Chatter. I think there's also a Harvey Keitel one that's pretty good too. But in Jane Campion's interview, she says that a lot of female filmmakers back out of it because it becomes too Women, I think, especially, they do listen to gossip, and they do find other people's opinions to affect their heart, which I don't think men always care. You know, I don't think they're really trained not to really care. For example, you know, any male filmmaker that's from Orson Welles to Quentin Tarantino to, you know, to David Fincher, you know, I don't really think they care about reviews and gossip. And I'm actually one that I do pay attention to it. Looks like we've got some rain under this bridge or something, some kind of trash or something. I do pay attention to it when I want to go see a movie. For example, the movie that's right now got the big movie review that's doing is Top Gun Maverick, you know, with Tom Cruise. And I watched a movie review the other day of it, and the guy said it's the best thing he's seen in a long time. So, you know, it's me to go out and watch Top Gun Maverick. You know, I don't know. I just don't think it's going to be that great of a movie experience compared to some of the other movies like Nope. Got a lot of attention. I think that B.J. Novick film probably is pretty good. Vengeance. There's another one. I did not like. I did not think that the Massive Talent one was. I just didn't like it. And I'll be honest, you know, I mean, it just didn't hold my attention, you know. But they're saying Nope is supposed to be really good. I saw some more trailers on Nope, and the actor, the director that did Nope, he also did Get Out and Us. I don't know if I saw Us, but I did see Get Out. I thought Get Out was impressive. It held my attention. It's very hard, I think, to hold someone's attention in movies and filmmaking, just like it is with music and even with theater acting. You know, a theater show is very different than a film, you know, a cinematic thing. Also been going back and watching Jordan Lyon's early vlogs, and sometimes I'm blown away by just kind of the personality that's in the filmmaking. It's not always about how well things look. Like, for example, the piano, and we're going to get really rained on. I do this quite often if you've watched some of my vlogs, but the piano is a beautiful film to look at, like almost like a painting, a moving painting. I didn't know Jane Campion was really into David Lynch and some of the other great filmmakers that meditate and things, but it's a meditative piece, you know, frame by frame, and the music alone really gets showered on. But yeah, check it out. It's really good. I listen to Hollywood, or it's called Awards Chatter. Sorry, I always get some of these titles. It's called Awards Chatter. It's a really good show. They're just very straight up. The guy that does, I should know this by now. I've listened to so many of them. They go on for like an hour and a half of interviewing. The guy that does the interviews is very laid back. He's not a bad interviewer at all. Kind of reminds me a little bit of, well, he's not as dramatic as James Lipton, but he's kind of laid back. Really good, really good. I really recommend this if you're into filmmaking, or if you're into storytelling or acting, or you like any of that stuff. Check this one out right here. It's The Power of the Dog one. I think I talked about it before. She doesn't talk a whole lot about The Power of the Dog. She does talk about the piano, and she talks about some of her other films. And I've listened to some other movie review people that are big fans of Jane Campion, and they know like all her movies and stuff. And I need to watch more of her other movies. There's another film called something about the table. Her mom was in it. But she's really one of our best filmmakers, and not a lot of mentions. You know, not a lot of people sit around and talk about Jane Campion. as a great filmmaker, but she's on the level of like Hitchcock. Don't know where that gift comes from, you know, the filmmaker gift. I can understand the acting gift, though. I think it comes from intuition. I think the acting gift, it is a little bit unexplained. But when you see a great performance, you can't deny it. But the thing that's very different about filmmaking and acting is the actor is involved a lot in imagination and revealing the story in a truthful way, and that has a lot to do with him as a person, or he as a person. I'm sorry, he or she, actor, actress. But it has to do with a lot of the entity that they create, which is not the same with filmmaking. You know, because it's from an outside source appearing, you know, even if you show it from the point of view of an actor, kind of like what I do, it's not the same. They're different mediums, so that the gifts are different gifts. One's more kind of interpretation and revealing, and in a technical way, you know, because filmmaking is technical. Anyway, I know it's raining right now, and I'm sitting there making like these points about acting and filmmaking, probably for some reason, I don't really know. I really can kind of get hard on myself because I'm approaching 50. You know, I'm 49. You know, I've never really had a career, not a real big career. You know, I've done a little bit of substitute teaching. I worked for a bank for about 4 years, which is a nightmare. It's very, very stressful. But I've never really had a career per se, you know. And to still be struggling and doing this, you know, I'd have to be, you know, probably pretty crazy. Which I think I've always known that I have been. But I think a lot of artists are, you know. I don't know if all of them kind of reveal themselves as crazy, but crazy in the fact that, like, you know, why would I even attempt? And, like, it's not really a narrative film. But, you know, when I go back and I see something like Jane Campion's work, or I see like, let's say, I compare them maybe with vlogs like Adam the Woo, or, you know, it's not the same medium, it's not the same approach, but the person is there. And you really hear the person in the interview. If you listen to her, you know, she's a real person. Sorry about the Dutch angle. My hand's really... This is kind of the hand that I broke this hand like 8 times. You can kind of hear it. Sometimes I let you listen to it. You hear it kind of crackling. I use this hand. I have to use this hand to hold the camera, and it gets really sore. This hand right here. But like with the vlog and the vlogger, and this, you know, even with like Jordan Alliance stuff and everything, you know, it's not always like Kubrick, you know, but there's a person behind what's going on, a person that believes in themselves, and that's enough to just turn on a recording device or a pen and paper. You know, like you can hear the writer's voice, you know, in his work when they really believe in themselves. Same thing with the vlogger, if you want to call him a vlogger or filmmaker or whatever, you know. The major difference is it's all a technical thing, you know. It's a big technical thing. You've got the storyteller, the narrative takes a very... Everything that's written down is taken serious, especially if you listen to someone like David Lynch and some of his work, so that they prepare, the words are prepared, the story is thought upon in a very drastic way, a very serious way. I wouldn't say drastic, but meaning they take it very serious. A narrative and the word that's written down, it's a very important aspect. The documentary, and it's not at all really. I've heard that sometimes people will try to write documentaries, but it's the antithesis of the documentary. The documentary is you capturing whatever it is you're trying to capture that's there. I don't know if it's all planned. I don't think it needs to be. But then I was listening to Mike Myers the other day on Awards Chatter too, and he was talking about that sometimes improv excels to recitation or to reciting. So the improv can be so great that all of a sudden you have to recite something, you know. I don't know if that's completely improv, but, you know, I don't know. I was just thinking about those kinds of things. When I listen to filmmakers or I watch people's vlogs and videos, and I put them on different levels, you know, because they're on different levels for different reasons. You know, like Jane Campion, she got $7 million to pull off the piano, and she used every penny wisely, you know, because it was done very well. I'm not disproving because of the fact that she's not a documentarian heart, but she could certainly be one, you know. But we do what we can, and I guess the person, like I said, is behind that camera. And in this case, you know, it's been raining, and it's me, Cole, you know. But I've thought about, you know, why do I continue? And I guess this is going on. I gotta cut this short. I didn't realize it's going on for 21 minutes. Anyway, that's gonna make it 2 episodes. I don't know. I really don't, like I said, I still don't have an answer, you know. But if you need one, I can mail it to you. I have a way where I can send you my email, and I can get a hold of your email. I've mailed people that have watched my vlogs. I've mailed them stuff. I can give you some type of answer if you really need one. But I don't really question people's art or their, you know. I do consider myself an artist, but I don't really question. Like I wouldn't question Jane Campion or any of the great famous vloggers. Not that she's one, but she's still a person. And I'm not going to question, like, you know, why, you know. I heard she got a lot of trouble for the piano, like a lot of backlash, and a lot of people that just completely hated it. And I thought it was like one of the most important films of that year, of the 90s. Probably one of the most important film of the 90s, and maybe one of the most important female art pieces, you know, film. It's a cinematic art, you know, from a female's point of view, you know, a cinematic art house film. Probably one of the best, I would say. Now, I still to this day I have not seen Power of the Dog, so you know, I'm not the expert on Jane Campion, you know, but I want to see it. You know, there's a lot of films I want to see, but as you get older, it changes on when you can see a film. And I think as you get older, what you're kind of allowed to see changes, as opposed to when you're younger, you know, and you're full of life. I think that energy of your life matches what you're watching sometimes. And in the piano, I was, you know, dating a woman at the time and going to college, and I remember my acting teacher had said good things about it. I'd already seen it, you know, and I was just kind of blown away about, kind of like, I was blown away because, for one thing, I saw it next to another woman, and it was a very erotic, kind of emotional experience that probably maybe like a vlog or something probably could not do, you know. It had to be a filmmaker that made this type of movie, you know, for that moment, you know. It had people getting like right beside me. It had to be like yeah, that had to be done by a filmmaker, you know. But it was a female filmmaker, you know. I don't know if I was completely aware of that when I saw it. The interesting thing about the piano, though, is the music is from a male. Michael Nyman is the pianist, brilliant pianist. Just getting the soundtrack alone is worth it. Just the soundtrack. You don't have many soundtracks like that. Not nowadays. Scores. It was. I guess you could say it was scored. It was a film that was scored to music, and that's another thing I think that separates other filmmakers from other filmmakers, you know, is the music. And one of our big filmmakers even today, like Quentin Tarantino, that's a big ordeal with him in an interview, is the score, because he's only done one, Hateful Eight. You know? So the score is kind of like already in his head from music that he's already heard. And that's what separates him from a lot of other filmmakers as well. Jane Campion, I'd always wondered, and that's the one thing I'd always wondered about the interview, is that they didn't really cover it. But, you know, why not talk more about the music when it comes to the piano, and how she searched that out and was able to gather that? Pretty cool. I got to cut off though.